Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever laid awake at night staring at the ceiling, wondering what tomorrow might bring? Not because you're excited, but because you're uncertain? The fear of the future is subtle. It hides behind your to-do lists, behind your planning, even behind your ambition. But make no mistake, it's there. A quiet panic that whispers, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if I'm not enough? And while you smile in public, your mind races in private, crafting stories about disasters that haven't even happened. You're not alone. Many are trapped in a future that hasn't arrived, held hostage by invisible fears. But what if I told you that this fear is not a prophecy? It's a prison, and the key has been in your hand all along. Today, we're not just talking about the future. We're confronting the fear that's keeping you from walking into it. Fear of the future is one of the most paralyzing emotions a person can experience. It doesn't wear a visible face or follow a consistent form. Instead, it sneaks into the mind as a quiet whisper of what if, and grows into a storm of imagined possibilities. But the truth is, fear of the future is rarely based on anything factual or real. It is born from uncertainty, the unknown, and not from actual events. We fear what we cannot predict, what we cannot control, and what we cannot yet see. The future, by its very nature, is a blank canvas, and the human mind doesn't like blanks. So it fills that canvas with the worst-case scenarios, painting pictures of failure, disappointment, heartbreak, loss, and rejection. These visions are not rooted in experience, but in imagination. They feel real because our emotions respond to our thoughts, not to truth. If you imagine disaster long enough, your body will begin to react as if it's already happening. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your energy drains. Not because you're in danger, but because your mind believes you're. Uncertainty triggers this reaction because it challenges the part of us that wants stability. Human beings crave a sense of control, and when the future doesn't come with a clear map or guarantee, the mind starts spinning stories to prepare for every possible outcome. But in doing so, we often prepare more for pain than promise. We brace ourselves for heartbreak before love even enters. We prepare for failure before we even begin. And that preparation becomes paralysis. It becomes hesitation, delay, self-sabotage, and sometimes even total inaction. We convince ourselves that if we wait long enough, we'll be more ready. But readiness never comes, because clarity doesn't grow in the dark cave of fear. It grows in the light of movement. Fear rooted in uncertainty convinces us that we are safer standing still. It says, don't apply, you might get rejected. Don't love, you might get hurt. Don't speak up, they might laugh. But in trying to protect us, it quietly imprisons us. And the most dangerous part is that we often don't even realize it. We call it being practical, being cautious, just being smart. But behind many of those masks is a deeper truth. We are afraid of stepping into something we cannot perfectly predict. We want guarantees, we want outcomes, we want step-by-step instructions before we risk anything. But life doesn't give that, and neither does purpose, passion, or growth. To overcome this fear, we must confront the root, not just the symptoms. It's not about ignoring the future or pretending fear doesn't exist. It's about understanding that the fear is coming from uncertainty, not reality. It's about separating imagined pain from actual experience. Most of the things we fear never even happen, and the few that do are rarely as bad as we expected. What's worse is what fear prevents: the relationships we never start, the dreams we never pursue, the potential we never unlock. When we understand that our fear is not a prophecy, but a reflection of uncertainty, we reclaim our power. We begin to see that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. Because while the future may be uncertain, your response to it doesn't have to be. Your imagination is one of the most powerful tools you possess. It's not just for creativity or daydreaming, it's the silent architect behind your emotional state, your expectations, and your response to life. Every thought you allow to take root in your mind begins in the realm of imagination. It's where scenarios are built, outcomes are predicted, and futures are rehearsed before they ever happen. The same imagination that allows you to dream about what's possible is the very tool that can also drown you in fear. The difference lies in how you use it. When imagination aligns with hope, purpose, and possibility, it builds faith. It creates a vision of what could go right, what you're capable of, and where your life could go if you rise to your potential. It fuels belief, ignites courage, and helps you see beyond your current limitation. You begin to walk with confidence because your mind has rehearsed breakthrough, not breakdown. But when imagination is left unchecked, when it feeds off fear and uncertainty, it begins to build another world, one ruled by anxiety. Suddenly, your thoughts are no longer allies. They are tormentors. You picture things going wrong. You anticipate loss, betrayal, failure, and humiliation. You begin to overthink, to second guess, to catastrophize situations that haven't even occurred. And your body, your emotions respond to that imagined threat as if it's real. Your heart beats faster, your chest tightens, your sleep gets disrupted, not because of reality, but because of where your imagination has taken you. Anxiety thrives in this place. It feeds on imagined disasters, worst-case scenarios, and false deadlines. You start to live in tomorrow's fear rather than today's truth. This isn't just about the mental habits, it's about direction. What you imagine consistently is what you start to expect. And what you expect, you prepare for. This is why many people never take bold steps. Their imagination has already convinced them of failure, so they protect themselves by not even trying. They pre-live rejection before ever applying, heartbreak before ever loving, and embarrassment before ever expressing themselves. The tragedy isn't just that they feel anxious, it's that they never find out what was truly possible, because anxiety became their reality long before anything ever happened. But it doesn't have to be this way. Your imagination can be trained. Just like a muscle, it can be conditioned to serve your growth instead of your fear. It starts with awareness, recognizing when your thoughts are spiraling into anxiety and redirecting them toward possibility. It means replacing what if it all goes wrong with what if it all goes right. It's not about lying to yourself or ignoring risks. It's about choosing to envision outcomes that build strength instead of steal peace. Faith is built in the same soil where anxiety grows. The difference is the seed you plant. You can use your imagination to visualize growth, healing, success, and impact. You can let it reinforce your belief that even if challenges come, you'll rise. That even if the future is unclear, you'll adapt and thrive. Clarity of purpose is like a compass in the chaos of life. When you know who you are and why you're here, uncertainty loses its power over you. Fear thrives in the unknown, in the spaces where identity is shaky and direction is blurred. But when purpose becomes your foundation, it becomes much harder for fear to take root. Knowing your purpose doesn't mean you have every step figured out, but it does mean you've chosen your direction. You're no longer wandering aimlessly, hoping life reveals something worthwhile. You are moving intentionally toward what you were made for. That awareness begins to silence the inner voices that question your worth, your path, and your future. Without a clear sense of purpose, everything feels overwhelming. Small obstacles look like mountains, and setbacks feel like signs to give up. But when purpose is strong, those same challenges are viewed as part of the process. You expect resistance, not because you doubt yourself, but because you know growth is part of the journey. You stop interpreting discomfort as danger. You start seeing it as confirmation that you're moving. Fear feeds on ambiguity. When you're unsure who you are or what matters to you, any possibility of failure, rejection, or criticism becomes terrifying. But once you understand your identity and mission, those same fears lose their grip. The fear of other people's opinions diminishes when you realize they're not the ones responsible for your assignment. The fear of failure lessens when you understand that failure is a teacher, not a verdict. Purpose gives you a filter. Not every opportunity excites you anymore because you're not driven by impulse. You're guided by intent. You begin to say no without guilt. You prioritize differently. Your time, your energy, your focus, they all come under the alignment of your why. And when you're aligned, you're grounded. That grounding makes it much harder for fear to destabilize you. It's not that you're never afraid, it's that fear no longer drives the decisions. Clarity becomes your driver. You step into rooms you used to avoid. You take risks you used to rationalize away. You speak with boldness, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're anchored in truth. This kind of internal clarity doesn't always come from one moment of revelation. Sometimes it's discovered through years of self-awareness, reflection, and surrendering distractions. But once you taste it, it changes the way you view your future. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work out? And start declaring, this is what I'm built for. Your inner voice gets louder than the noise around you. Purpose silences panic. It doesn't mean the path ahead is easy. It means you now have the reason to keep going. You no longer need to wait for permission or validation. Fear becomes background noise in a life that's too focused to entertain hesitation. When you know who you are and what you're meant to do, your outlook on the future shifts. It's not something to fear, it's something to shape. You step forward not because it's safe, but because you're sent. And when you walk in purpose, fear may whisper, but it never leads. Future-based fears often feel massive and paralyzing because they exist in the realm of what if. They live in imagination, growing louder with every moment we stay inactive. The mind projects worst-case scenarios, overwhelming the present with distant possibilities that haven't even happened. But the truth is, fear has no power over the moment you are fully living in. When you start taking small intentional actions right now, you bring yourself back to reality, and reality is far less terrifying than fear's fiction. Every small action, no matter how simple, pulls you out of the fog of anxiety. Making the bed, sending that email, showing up to the appointment, writing that first sentence, these present decisions chip away at the illusion that the future is some monstrous force waiting to consume you. Instead, you begin to realize the future is shaped by moments like this one. It's not about controlling what's coming, it's about mastering what's within reach. And every time you act in the now, you send a message to your nervous system. I'm not frozen, I'm moving. That movement rewires your internal response. Fear begins to lose its grip, not because the future is resolved, but because you've shown yourself that you are not helpless. Small actions create traction. They shift your focus from imaginary problems to real solutions. When you break down an overwhelming task into one doable step, you invite clarity into confusion. You stop trying to leap across the unknown and instead build a bridge with steady steps. Fear thrives in ambiguity. But when you bring specificity to your life, making lists, setting micro goals, completing one thing at a time, you begin to shrink the size of fear. What once looked like a mountain becomes a staircase. Every step weakens the illusion that you're powerless. These actions also build evidence. Confidence isn't created by motivational thinking alone. It's earned by consistent movement. When you act, you begin to see yourself differently. You're not someone waiting to be brave, you're someone becoming brave. That shift is subtle but powerful. The more you act in the present, the more trust you build with yourself. And when you trust yourself, the future doesn't seem so intimidating because you know you'll show up for whatever it brings. Taking action in the present is also how you regain control. Fear often makes us feel like we're at the mercy of life, floating without a paddle. But when you choose to do the next right thing, no matter how small, you reclaim that paddle. You may not be able to control the waves, but you are steering your ship. That alone can calm the storm within. Action grounds you. It keeps you from being swept away by emotion because it reconnects you with what's real, your breath, your choices, your direction. The irony is that most of the time, the action we fear isn't nearly as painful as the anxiety we create avoiding it. Avoiding expands fear movement, dismantles it. By living intentionally today, you weaken the fears that try to dominate your tomorrow. The best way to silence fear of the future is not with grand plans, but with present courage. One small action at a time, you reclaim your power and rewrite the narrative. We often approach the future with clenched fists, trying to predict, manipulate, and control every outcome as if certainty were a prerequisite for peace. But the more we try to dominate what lies ahead, the more anxious we become. The truth is, the future has never demanded our control. It demands something much deeper and far more difficult: trust, intention, and courage. These qualities don't eliminate risk or pain, but they empower us to walk forward with strength even when the road is unclear. Trust is the foundation. It's not about blind optimism, but about grounding yourself in something stronger than fear, whether it's your faith, your values, or your history of surviving what once felt impossible. Trust is knowing that even when the outcome is uncertain, you are not helpless. It allows you to move without needing all the answers, to rest even when results haven't arrived, and to take risks without demanding guarantees. Trust liberates you from the pressure of perfection and invites you to live from a place of inner confidence, not external control. Intention follows trust. Without clear intention, you drift through life, reacting to whatever shows up, and that reactionary living feeds insecurity. But when you live with intention, you anchor yourself in purpose. You don't need to control the entire journey. When you're clear on your direction, intention simplifies the future. It helps you focus not on doing everything, but on doing the right things, those aligned with your vision and identity. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter and start investing in what truly does. With intention, even the smallest steps become meaningful because they are guided by clarity rather than fear. Then comes courage. The willingness to act, speak, and move forward, even when the outcome is unknown. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something matters more than fear. The future often intimidates us because it's wrapped in uncertainty, but courage walks into that uncertainty with open eyes and steady hands. It allows you to show up fully, not because you're certain everything will work out, but because you're committed to growing no matter what happens. Courage shifts the question from what if I fail to what might I discover if I try. And that shift is what moves people from paralysis to progress. What the future truly asks of us is presence and participation, not prediction and perfection. When you stop obsessing over outcomes and start focusing on showing up with trust, living with intention, and acting with courage, the weight of the unknown begins to lift. Stop chasing control and start cultivating character. And that shift is powerful. It means you don't have to wait until you know enough or feel ready to begin. You begin now as you are, and that beginning creates momentum. The irony is that trying to control the future often leads to stagnation, while releasing that control leads to movement. Trust replaces anxiety, intention replaces distraction, and courage replaces hesitation. The future was never meant to be gripped tightly. It was meant to be walked into bravely, step by step. So as we stand on the edge of what's next, let us remember the future was never meant to be feared. It was meant to be faced. Not with panic or perfectionism, but with trust in what grounds us, intention in how we live, and the courage to keep walking even when the road ahead is unclear. The unknown may always feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to control us. Because when you trust deeply, live purposefully, and move boldly, you transform fear into fuel. And that's when the future stops being something to survive and becomes something you're truly ready to step into. Thank you.